You know, it's kind of wild to think about how much the cloud has changed, well, everything. Our photos, our music, our work files, they all just live up there, somewhere, right? We can get to them from anywhere. It's made our lives so much more flexible. But what about a company's entire financial life? We're talking about the most sensitive, most important information a business has. So, is moving all your accounting to the cloud a total game changer for efficiency, or is it a gamble that's just way too risky? That's the big question we're going to dig into today. All right, so let's get into it. Before we can even start to talk about the pros and cons, we got to be on the same page about what cloud accounting actually is. And the difference is actually pretty simple when you break it down. For forever, accounting meant you had this one piece of software on one computer in the office. All your data, it lived right there on that hard drive. If you weren't at that desk, you are out of luck. Cloud accounting just flips that whole idea on its head. The software is online, your data is stored on super secure servers somewhere else, and you can log in from pretty much anywhere. A coffee shop, the airport, you name it. And you can see why this is so appealing, right? For businesses, the cost savings are huge. You're not buying pricey software for every single computer anymore. You get total freedom to work from wherever. And here's a point that people sometimes miss. It's actually safer from local stuff, like a fire or a theft at your office. Your financial records aren't going to get wiped out. On top of all that, the updates just happen automatically in the background. It's a really, really compelling package. Okay, but here's the flip side. The second your data leaves your physical building, you've lost that direct, hands-on control. You're basically putting an incredible amount of trust in another company to keep your most private info safe from hackers or leaks. And think about this. What if that cloud company just goes bust? These are the kinds of worries that genuinely keep business owners up at night. So, you've got this amazing set of benefits on one hand and these really scary risks on the other. How on earth do businesses actually make that call? Well, it turns out researchers have a framework for this, and it's going to be like our detective's toolkit for this whole explainer. Now, I know what you're thinking. This looks like something straight out of a statistics textbook, right? Don't worry, we're not going to get lost in all the little arrows and boxes. The big idea here is that this model, it's called the Technology Acceptance Model, or TAM for short. It's just a way to predict how we'll react to new tech by looking at a couple of key questions we ask ourselves. And it really boils down to three simple things we subconsciously ask. First up, perceived benefit. Is this thing actually going to help me do my job better or faster? Then there's ease of use. Am I going to have to spend weeks learning this, or is it pretty straightforward? And finally, and this one's super important for our topic, trust. Can I really, truly count on this system to keep my data safe and sound? So that's the theory. But does this model actually work in the real world? When real businesses are making these huge decisions. To figure that out, we're going to look at a really cool study from Saudi Arabia that put this exact model to the test with cloud accounting. So the researchers went out and surveyed 178 accounting pros over in Riyadh. And what's great is that they got a really solid mix of people. As you can see, they talked to folks from huge corporations, from small and medium-sized businesses, we call those SMEs, and from independent accounting and audit firms. This gives us a fantastic, well-rounded picture. All right, so the data is in. They crunched all the numbers from everybody. What was the one big thing that really pushed people to adopt cloud accounting? What did they find? Well, the answer was surprisingly simple. When you just mash everyone together into one big group, only one factor truly mattered: perceived benefit. The study showed that things like how easy it was to use or even trust weren't statistically significant when you looked at the whole group. Now, all that really means is, yeah, people might have worried about those things, but on average, those worries weren't strong enough to stop them if they really believed the tech would help them do their jobs better. But, and this is a big but, that is not the whole story. Not even close. Because that big picture, on average view, it hides something way more interesting. This is where the twist comes in, because when the researchers started slicing up the data based on the size of the company, a completely different story came out. It turns out one size definitely does not fit all. Okay, just look at this for a second. Again, don't worry about the numbers, just look at the flow. On the left, for the big companies, you see these strong connections coming from all three things: benefit, trust, and ease of use. All of them are pushing towards adoption. But now, look at the model on the right for the small and medium companies. The line from benefit is strong, sure, but the connections from trust and ease of use, they're practically gone. It's a whole different ballgame. This table just lays it all out, crystal clear. For the large companies, it was the whole package. They saw the benefits, sure, but they also needed to trust it, and it had to be easy to use. But for the SMEs, it was all about the benefits. Ease of use and trust. Statistically, they were rejected as things that drove their decision. And then you have the audit offices, who are a mix. They cared about the benefit and the trust, but not so much about how easy it was. So this is the million-dollar question, right? Why the massive difference? Why would smaller companies seem to just ignore trust? Well, the study suggests it's not that they don't care about trust. It's that their fear is actually so high it becomes an obstacle. They're so worried about data leaks from some outside company that it almost paralyzes the whole decision. So for them, it's this huge potential benefit fighting against this overwhelming feeling of risk. Okay, so what's the big takeaway here? What does all this actually mean for businesses trying to figure out what's next with technology? Well, the main lesson is that choosing new tech isn't a simple yes or no question. It's all about your context. Big companies, they've got IT departments, they've got legal teams, they have the resources to check out the risks, so they can weigh all three factors: benefit, ease, and trust. But SMEs are often running on a shoestring. They're laser focused on any benefit that'll help them keep up, but they are also terrified of risks they simply can't afford if something goes wrong. Your company's size really shapes your entire relationship with new tech. And that leaves all of us with a much bigger question, not just about cloud accounting, but about any new tech that comes along. With innovation moving so fast, the question isn't just, hey, should we use this cool new tool? The real question is, are we truly prepared to bet our business on it? What's your answer to that?